I've always been fascinated by stories in which the main character, in quotes, wakes up in an alternate life, but with all their memories intact. This alternate life is one they might have experienced had they made different choices. There are several examples of this plot line. A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens is probably the most famous example. The story that prompted an interesting thought experiment in my life is the movie Family Man, much less famous than the Dickens classic. This was released in 2000 and starred Nicolas Cage and Leoni. This isn't going to be about the movie. It still holds up, but I'll leave that for you to discover. Today, I'm sharing a mental experiment that'll have you considering possibilities in your own life as it did in mine. Hey there, it's me, Core, and you're listening to Exercising Self-Control, from Fitness to Flourishing. Imagine that tomorrow morning, your preferred self, that most excellent version of yourself you strive to become in every respect, wakes up in your body. Your preferred self wakes up in your body and in your current circumstances. But the thing is, they know who they are. They know what principles they lived by, what skills they used to execute naturally, and what systems they made use of to be who they were in their life before they woke up in your bed. They remember who they were and what they had achieved in life. Your preferred self has all of the belief that they were who they were, and they've woken up in your body and in your circumstances. Your body is living by different principles. Your body has skills that are not the same. And your body uses systems that don't create the life your preferred self knows is possible. They were already living that life just the day before. If your preferred self woke up to this scenario, how would they create the life they used to live? How would they go about creating what they know is possible? There are no rules for this experiment. What you do with this may actually change your life. It's a mental game you can play to look at your current life from a different perspective. That said, here are some things to consider. The only thing your preferred self can do is make choices, same as yourself right now. In essence, your preferred self has replaced you, your choosing self, in this scenario. The issue your preferred self will encounter is that the person whose life they just woke up in, that's your life, has habits and routines already in place. And these are not optimal for the life they know is possible. In other words, your preferred self has just learned the status of the conditioned self you had, and that it needs to be trained to their higher standards. The advantage your preferred self brings to this situation is the absolute belief that they have done what you had only been dreaming of doing. Other than that, they have to deal with starting from scratch. To give you an idea of what you can do with this, here's how I imagine my preferred self would change my life, from the personal to the financial, or you can think of this from most influence to least influence. You may have a completely different strategy, and that's okay. Do what you will with this. But here's how I thought this would play out. First, my preferred self would focus on self-management. They need to be able to say to themselves, I will do this, and then follow through. And at the moment, they're starting work with an unknown commodity, a conditioned self inconsistent with their highest values and unaligned with their most important goals. With that understanding, they'd set up a task management system and use it daily. Whether simple or complex, they would use something to plan their day to coordinate their effort and maximize their effectiveness. Second, they would tackle their personal environment. They would organize the home, vehicle, clothes, gym bag, etc. They would ensure the stuff in their lives supported their preferred lifestyle and the goals they were working toward. Third, they would address their appearance. They'd want how they look to reflect who they are. They would adjust their grooming, their bearing, posture, dress, mannerisms, that kind of thing. They would want the body that they're now in to reflect who they are and how they move through the world. Fourth, they would develop their skills in relating. They would create the relationships and the quality of those relationships necessary to build the life they prefer. Everything they currently do not have must come from their own effort and the cooperation of other people. And finally, they would work on their productive prosperity. They would build the economic skills and systems to create more material values in order to create the wealth and financial freedom that they used to have. So, now it's your turn. How do you imagine your preferred self would change your life, taking it from what you are currently living to the life that they know that they can live because they've already been doing that? The idea here isn't to come up with a better answer than mine. It's to explore what you consider would happen if this scenario was real. And in a sense, this is real. You might already be thinking in these terms, but if you aren't, this is a tool that you can use to start thinking along these lines. The scenario as described is possible, though it's based on imagination and not an actual fact. Give this a go, and if you'd like to share your thoughts, I'm curious to hear them. That's it for today. Catch you next time.